Hi, my name is Sterling Gibbs, and this is my final film analysis on the movie A Star is Born. The movie is about a famous musician, Jackson Maine, who meets an underrated artist, Allie, at a drag bar. Eventually, Jackson falls in love with her and helps her get famous. As her fame increases, so does his addiction with drugs and alcohol. The main characters in the movie are Allie and Jackson Maine. They also call him Jack. That's what they call him throughout the movie. The 6 concepts that I found throughout the movie were implicit personality theory, attribution theory, listening barriers, nonverbal communication, adapters, and Edward T. Hall's distance zones. The first concept is the implicit personality theory. The implicit personality theory consists of personal assumptions that you make about another person's personality. This theory applies in the movie when Allie is explaining to Jack that the reason why she doesn't sing her own songs is because every producer that she's tried to get in contact with has told her no because her nose is too big. So they turn her down because they think her nose is too big and she's not pretty enough to be a singer. Therefore, they make assumptions about her because of her personality. The purpose and relevance of this theory in interpersonal communications is it encompasses your thoughts and expectations that influence you to make guesses about other person's personalities. An example that you can use in real life is saying you see somebody walking across the road and they're wearing all black. One of your first assumptions that you make about that person and their personality is that, oh, they might be depressed or they might be sad or scary or they're a freak because we associate that color black and that with that kind of personality, when in reality they could be really fun and outgoing. The second concept is attribution theory. This is a theory that explains how we ascribe specific motives and cases to the behavior of others. This concept in the movie is talked about when in between the interaction of Jackson and Allie's producer, when Allie's producer is explaining to Jackson that he thinks that Allie's career is going down the hole because of Jackson. And because of this conversation, Jackson essentially ends up committing suicide because of it. The relation between this theory and the movie is that the scene relates to the theory because you can foreshadow the action Jackson is going to make based off Gavrin's behavior towards him, one regarding Allie's singing and her success. The purpose and relevance of this theory is it explains how we ascribe specific motives and causes to the behavior of others. It helps us interpret what people do. An example for everyday life, you offer somebody food and they turn it down. One of the things that that just naturally come to our head is we start assuming, oh, that it's probably because they thought our food was bad, when in reality they could have just not been hungry. We do this because we are naive and don't create these expectations in a reasonable manner, but by creating these expectations through common sense. The third concept is selective listening. Selective listening is letting our expectations and stereotypes cause us to hear what we want to hear instead of listening to what a speaker actually said. The concept within this movie is the fight scene where Ellie is in the bathtub and Jackson goes in to congratulate her for being a nominee for 3 awards. In the end, they end up fighting, and throughout the entire scene, none of them are listening to each other, and they're just fighting with each other. They don't actually hear what each person is actually saying, and only hearing what they want to say to keep the fight going. When Allie and Jackson are fighting, neither of them are truly listening to each other and only hear sections that they want to hear due to their anger overpowering their thoughts, which is the relation between the movie and the theory is because selective listening, that's what it is. You only select what you want to listen to. The purpose and relevance of this theory is that it identifies when somebody is being self-absorbed and often results in mismeaning and self-focused filtering of messages. An example is saying somebody's telling you, oh, I'll give you $20 for you to wash my car, and the only thing that you hear is I'll give you $20 because the only thing that you're focused on is money. The fourth concept is nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is behavior other than written or spoken language that creates meaning for somebody. The concept within this movie is the scene when Allie and Jack are at the bar and Jackson asks to touch Allie's nose, and then he runs his finger across her nose. In the scene where Jack touches Allie's nose, non-verbally, Jack is communicating that he likes Allie by intimately running his finger across her nose softly. The purpose of this one is to provide information, regulate interaction, and present an image and express power and status. Being able to identify and communicate non-verbally is essentially what makes you good at being other-oriented, which is a main goal that we try to acquire within interpersonal communication. An example is a way someone is trying to show the other person that they are interested in them without saying it by softly touching the other person's arm and leaning into them when engaged in a conversation, which is what oftentimes most women do when they go on a date to show that they're interested in somebody. The fifth concept is adapters. Adapters are nonverbal behaviors that help you satisfy a personal need and adapt to an immediate situation. In the movie, when Allie sings her first song on a big stage with Jackson, the song Shallow, she covers her mouth with both hands. She covers her mouth with both hands when singing that song as a way to comfort herself when singing in front of a large crowd, which is what an adapter is. They do certain things like that to comfort themselves. The relevance of this one is to demonstrate the way humans use their body as a defense mechanism for things that overload their emotions. Like fixing your hair, scratching your cheek, popping your knuckles, and bouncing your leg, or biting your fingernails. Those are all adapters that you use oftentimes when you're nervous. Another example, when you're trying to flirt with somebody, and one thing that you can do is curl your hair like that. The sixth concept is Edward T. Hall's distance zone, more specifically, intimate space. Intimate space is the zone of space that is often used for very personal and intimate interactions, ranging from 0 to 1.5 feet in between individuals. The sixth concept within the movie, towards the end of the song, the Shallow scene, both the characters are joined in singing really close to each other on the microphone, as you can see in this photo. This scene relates to Edward T. Hall's distance zone, specifically intimate space, because you can clearly see that they are less than 0 to 1.5 feet apart, and that they are intimate with each other. The relevance of this topic is to demonstrate that intimate zone is open to only those who are acquainted with each other. A study shows that if you're close enough to smell someone, you often make inferences about their personality based off their smell. This can be applied to everyday life by two close friends hugging or a child holding onto its mother's legs. Being less than 1.5 feet apart, away from each other, you can tell that they are close enough to one another to trust to be in a that person's personal space. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching.